an agency shift might as well be the fastest way to lose your pin. Bear that at the back of your mind. Hello everybody. Hello beautiful people. This is your girl Nurse Ada again, and thank you so much for subscribing so far to my channel. So today's video will have something very special, something I know matters so much to some of us here in the UK. If it doesn't matter to you, that's only if you do not like money. Of course, I know everybody wants an extra income. Everybody wants an extra something on top of their regular contracted job. Some of us already know, but have been having these issues on how to go about it. We're talking about being an agency staff, okay? So I'll be giving tips on how to successfully be an agency staff here in the UK without having any issues. Get into that. If you watch my last videos, you will see that I have worked for nearly 5 years. Part of those years I did in the private sector and part in the trust. All right. So whatever tips I'll be giving you today is not significant to just one sector, either to the care home or to the trust. It's a combination of the both places, because out of this nearly 5 years which I have worked, I have done successfully done agency for the last 4 years without, to the glory of God, any issues. So I'll be giving you these tips on how I have done this, how I have managed to keep myself safe so far to avoid any problem. Right. Now, there have been times when I would take over from a shift from an agency staff, and then I would see the amount of error, I would see the number of issues that will arise from the shift, and my heart would skip a bit. I'll be like, Jesus, did nobody give this person an orientation? Like, are you clueless? You didn't take time to understand this thing before you got yourself into it. And let me also point it out clearly to you that doing an agency shift might as well be the fastest way to lose your pin. Bear that at the back of your mind. Yes, it pays very well, okay? Because if you're to compare the pay between a regular trust staff and an agency staff, is this long? Seriously. Because a regular band 5 staff starting up in the HSC here in Northern Ireland might be getting like 13.5, while an agency staff will be getting between a range of £25 to £40, day shift or night shift, depending on the agency. They all have varying rates. And then if you even talk about the weekend and then the bank holidays, oh my God, don't even go there. It's blood money. And I'm sure there is nobody that doesn't want to partake of it. The problem is, how do I do this and how do I keep myself safe while doing it? So if you think this is something you're interested in, this is something you want to know, either as a new person wanting to start an agency or somebody who is struggling being an agency staff, you might want to watch this video to the very end, and I'll be giving you these tips. So right, number one of this tip is what? Self-confidence. Now, how do you build your self-confidence? Before you go to start picking up shifts in an entirely different environment, an entirely different place, where you're a stranger, you don't know them, they don't know you, maybe you should start by picking up shifts where you are known. Okay, let's say you're working in the care home. I'm sure in your care home you have different units. You might have the dementia unit, the residential unit, or even the mental health units in the care home. If regularly you'll be posted to the dementia unit, try to pick up bank shifts in the residential unit. That way you'll be working with residents you're not familiar with, and then you see how it goes. If you're in the trust, you're in stroke, try to pick up shifts in gastro, try to pick up shifts in cardio. This way you can always tell them, oh, I actually work in this trust, but I'm picking up a bank shift. And then you see how it goes and see if it's something you can actually do. And I'm sure that if you do this regularly, you begin to come out of your comfort zone. This cannot be overemphasized. You cannot stand up and say you're going to work as an agency somewhere in a unit where you are not competent. My dear, this will be what? A recipe for disaster. Please, before you venture into any agency, before you pick up any shift, make sure you're competent in all your skills. Make sure you've done all your trainings, you've done all your e-learnings, you've done all your practicals. I know very well for a fact that there are agencies that are quite careless who wouldn't mind giving you shifts even when you don't have these trainings. But what you should know is that whenever an issue arises, it's your pain at stake and not theirs, okay? They are going to definitely push you out, and you'll be the one to face NNC or to face the board or whatever. So you really don't want to do that. And the third tips I'll be giving you now is what? Research. Before you pick up any agency shift, please research on the unit you're being posted to. Let's say you're picking up a shift in the trust, okay? Now it's been given out to you. You've got your confirmation of you've been allocated to so units. If you don't know anybody who works in that trust and you don't have a way, you can as well call the switchboard. You can call the switchboard of so trust. You want to find out, so unit, can you put me down to 4B? Can you put me down to 6B? Somebody is going to pick this call. You ask them, please, what unit is this? And the person, I'm sure, will be happy to say, oh, this is stroke, this is gastro, this is cardiac, whatever the case might be. That gives you an idea of what you're going to be walking into. That gives you an idea of what you're expecting, because I know there are times when I myself haven't done my research and I walk into a unit and I'm like, oh no, this is not for me. This is not for me. I have to go. I can't do this. Nice. They're going to be short-staffed. The agency is not going to be very happy with you. You're not going to be very happy with yourself as well. So it's better you do your research. If it's something you can do, they're like, oh, fine. I know I'm going to be going to a cardiac unit. I know what to expect. I'm likely going to be finding everybody on a monitor. I know what to expect. I'm going to a stroke unit. I know what to expect. You're mentally prepared for that. So when you're working on the unit, you don't get thrown off balance. And then you become completely confused and you're looking for who to lean on. Another important step I would always want to tell people is try to be punctual. Okay? Try to be punctual. Even if when you go to your work in your own unit, you can get there like, well, at the time. If you're taking over at 7:30, you're getting there at exactly 7:30. That is fine. That is your unit. That's like home. Okay? But if you're taking up an agency shift in a different place, bear in mind, these people don't know you. You don't know them. Mentally, nobody knows each other. You're just walking or barging into each other. You really don't want to be barging in on the handover already. You want to get to the place on time, let's say 5-10 minutes before the shift starts. Take your time to familiarize yourself with the environment. Drop your bag, get a cup of tea, get a cup of coffee, get yourself mentally prepared for the shift before the handover even starts. You might even get the opportunity of picking up the handover and then going through the case, taking your time to read these cases even before the nurses begin to hand over these things, because at times the handover is a little bit rushed and they're just reading through the things and you're seeing abbreviations you're not familiar with. But if you're there early enough, you can check out some of those abbreviations. When you see ITA, you know what they're talking about. When you see TKR, you know what they're talking about. You can find out these abbreviations and write them out on your handover. That will help you. That will help make the handover more sensible and help you to understand. And it will also relieve the tension you might be walking into each time you go to pick tools. You need to dress well, okay? Because for sure, there's a saying that says you get addressed the way you're dressed. So many times you walk in and then you see an agency staff coming, you're looking all shabby. So because you're not wearing this particular company's uniform, or you're not wearing the trust uniform, doesn't give you the privilege to walk in looking like completely. I'm sure every agency has a uniform for their staff, but at times because the agency is not there, they don't know what you're wearing, you feel you can just attend the shifts looking anyhow. That doesn't really tell well about you. It doesn't really tell your professionalism. I like to walk into an agency shift looking smart. Like, even if I look, I don't take time to look at myself. I'm going to my own shift, not when I'm going for an agency shift. Believe me, I make sure I look smart. I make sure I'm well dressed. I make sure I have my breast watch. I make sure I have my name tag. I make sure I have my ID card. I make sure I have my hair in a bun. I make sure I am looking the way a nurse should look. So you can't fault me on my looks. You want to look like a professional nurse. You want to be addressed like a professional nurse. Swallow what? Your pride. You know? Take it. Put it in your mouth. Swallow it. Don't be shy to ask questions. All right? Don't be shy to ask questions. One thing I can tell you for a fact is that I have been in a whole lot of trusts in Northern Ireland. I can't call the names, but call the name yourself. I can tell you if I've been there or not. And I can tell you that in all these trusts, they do have a lot of differences. Like, they might look a bit similar, but their protocols are distinct to themselves. So the protocols of, let's say, Falls in a Belfast Trust hospital might be slightly different to the protocol in a Southeastern hospital, or even in a Northern Trust or Southern Trust. So please don't assume that, oh yeah, I work in Belfast Trust, I already know the protocols for Falls. So let's say you had a fall in your shift and you don't want to ask people there, like, what's your protocol? Please don't do that. Ask them. There is no harm in doing that. Ask them, like, please, what's the protocol? This is what happens where I work. I just want to know if it's similar. I want to know if there are extra things, if there are extra paperwork you have to do, are there extra things you have to do, just so you keep yourself what's right. You see, the worst feeling is getting called back at the end of an agency shift. Oh my God. That's like the worst feeling. You are going to be miserable the rest of the week. Please, please, don't allow any agency, right, deceive you into picking up a shift. If you, let's say you're in-home staff, don't allow any agency deceive you into picking up a shift in the hospital. No, no, no. Don't ever do that until you've had the opportunity of working a couple of maybe bank shifts where you're going to be get somebody to shadow you. Don't fly from the nursing home into an agency in the hospital. They are completely different world. I can tell you this for a fact because I've been there. Okay, they are very different world, because these are cases where then you see somebody asking questions that are completely clueless. I've seen somebody asking me how to use the fluid pump. I've seen somebody asking me how to do an ECG. I've seen somebody asking me, please, how do I use the BP monitor? So many things. These are always pick up shifts. If you're nursing home staff, pick up shifts, agency shift in the nursing home. If you're a trust staff, then pick up in the trust staff, because as well, a trust staff, you cannot just barge into the nursing home, because in the trust you're used to having 6 patients, right? And then you barge into the nursing home and you have 24 patients to yourself. And in these 24 patients, 12 are confused, and maybe you're having 3 falls, and then you're having some who are barging the door and running around, and oh my goodness, you are going to be completely out of your mind. You don't want to do this. You don't want to actually mix that, except you've actually had experiences in both fields. If you get what I mean. I can comfortably do an agency shift in the nursing home and in the trust, because I did work a couple of years in the nursing home and a couple of years in the trust. If you don't have that kind of background, please don't go jumping in here and there. That is another recipe for disaster. Your pain is too important for you to joke around with it. Be ready to face attitude. Okay, like there is this thing I have come across so many times. There are places you work in, there are people who are not very receptive. There are people who don't like working with who they don't know. There are people who are not welcoming. So you need to prepare yourself psychologically for days like that. So when things like this happen, you don't find yourself being too withdrawn or being thrown off balance or complaining or feeling down or feeling bad about yourself, or not even able to do your job. That's also why you need to be competent in your job, because if you're competent in your job, you walk into a place, you have such attitude, that's fine. You can do your job and be professional and still live without feeling terrible or bad about yourself. Also call like my most important tip is what? Cross-checking your work. Cross-checking your work. Cross-check your cardex, cross-check your fluid balance, cross-check your notes. Cross-check every single documentation you're supposed to have filled on your shifts. Don't be in a hurry to leave an agency shift. I always say, I see some persons already standing at the door just once they've handed over. Please, it's better that you spend an extra 30 minutes there cross-checking your work and making sure everything is left sound than for you to go and then get called back that, oh, did you give so medications or not, because they were not signed for? Oh, did you do this? Did you do that? It wasn't documented. Oh my goodness, you don't want to be in that situation. It is tough. And trust me, they don't even know you, they don't even have your phone number. So they will likely contact the nurse bank, and then they will have to contact your agency, and then your agency will have to call you and say, oh, so and so, we just got an information about the medication error. Hey, and then you begin to jump around, your heartbeat will increase. You don't want that. Why don't you just take that extra 30 minutes? Go through every single cardex, every single medication which you gave on your shift, one after the other. That is what I will normally do. I will go one after the other, from the allergies to number 1 to number 2 to number 10. And I will go through every single file. I don't care if it's my responsibility to fill it or not. The skin bundle, the fluid file, the feeding file, the stool balance, everything. I will go one after the other. Are there signatures I have missed? Are there signatures I'm supposed to sign? You want to do this. You want to cross-check. You want to make sure. You want to update your notes. Do your evaluation before you leave. Last step I'll be giving you is the moment you decide to join an agency. Guess who is coming for you? HMRC. The moment you decide to join an agency, when you're busy being happy and excited that, oh, I'm going to be getting an extra income every week, be aware that HMRC is also jumping, that will be getting an extra tax every week. All right? Know that you're going to be taxed. and the tax is high as compared to your regular tax, which you get from your primary employment. Okay, normally an agency shift is taxed 20% in every shift. So you want to keep an eye on your payslip. Make sure your tax code is right. And there are some agencies that practice like either the payee or the umbrella, depending on what your agency is practicing. Please and please and please be very careful. Make sure your tax code is right. You don't want HMRC to come for you at the end of the year. You'll be getting a brand envelope at your doorpost, and you'll be told you're owing HMRC 12,000, you're owing HMRC 2,000, and then you ask yourself, when did I work this money? Where is the money? Guys, if you've been watching this video to this point and you haven't subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. Please hit the subscription button, like this video, share, comment. Thank you once again for tuning in. You know very well I love you on this channel, and bye.